What's up, you guys? How we doing? How we doing on this fine Monday morning? Doing? How we doing on this fine Monday morning? Weekend's over. Oh, we're back. Okay. Well, weekend's over, you guys. Back to work. That's not my story. There we go. So how you all doing today? Hopefully you all doing well. Hope to see you all guys in here today. How you doing, Yuan? Just figure out a way to... hold on. Just put my phone there. Hold on. Oh, I can use this now. I keep forgetting I have... Hold on. Oh, I can use this now. I keep forgetting I have this there. Probably just... yeah, there we go. I don't know why we keep lagging people. It's weird. But yes, how we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Good to see y'all. Hold on. Give me 1 sec, I just got a notification. Oops. No. Did not mean to do that. I'm sorry. Alright, sorry about that. Just got a notification on my tablet. So how you all doing? Good to see y'all. Just wanna let you all know. The rules of the live real quick. Just so we're all aware. I know more people are gonna be joining us, I have a feeling. But I wanna say it right now. We don't tolerate negative behavior. We uplift. We promote happiness. We do everything we can to make this a safe space for people to join and express themselves in an appropriate way. And we don't tolerate hate. We don't tolerate inappropriate behavior. You get one warning. After that, you're tossed. So if you want to stay in this live, you make sure you be appropriate. No hate speeches, none of that. We don't tolerate any of that. You want to make sure we're all clear. But how's life going for you guys? It's going good. My life is going... Sorry, I really itchy nose. I don't know why. So, my life could be better. In some aspects. We all work on different things and stuff like that. But what I really wanted to touch on in this live, I was really thinking about it yesterday. I don't know if you guys can hear me okay. I think my mic is kind of like in the blanket. I was just on my phone, I'll be original. But I was thinking about this yesterday. Because I really do feel like, because as you may have known, as I've talked about in a couple of my live streams, not very many, but I do have autism. It's very, very hard to tell sometimes. A lot of people don't believe I have it, but I do. I was, so when growing up, I knew I could sing. That's one thing. I knew I could sing. I always sang at like, at the school talent shows or whatever. I was always like the lead singer. The only one singing was me. You could only hear me singing, because everyone else was too afraid to sing. But I was the one that always sang at like the school plays or whatever, school shows. You could always hear me. So I was always passionate about singing and stuff. But I never really used it as an outlet until recently. But with that said, Wester Chester, I love that. Chester's my favorite singer. I'm inspired by him. I love that name. That's so awesome. I should name myself that. I should name my music name that. That's so funny. I wonder if you even knew, like, that Chester Bennington is actually named after that, or actually that's his name. The guy who I'm named, the guy who I am inspired by. It's so funny. I love that name. Thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate it. So as I was saying, it's hard to tell from the surface, but in the inside, it's easy to tell, right? So you may not be able to tell, just by looking at me, or on these lives, you may not be able to tell, but that's just how it is. You can't judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean? Like, everybody shows off differently. In some aspects, you can probably tell, but it's hard sometimes to tell. But growing up, like I said, I've always had a music passion. I grew up heavily listening to rock music rather than rap music. That was one of the main reasons why I wanted to focus more on Lil Bennington than Lil Lincoln, because of the passion part. I love Isaiah Thomas. That's awesome. I love your name. We miss him in Boston. But as I was saying, I've always had a passion for this kind of stuff. I just never really used it until recently. I started using it when I was going through a breakup with one of my ex-girlfriends at the time. I was a mess when we broke up. It was almost like me and my ex-fiance almost, except not quite as bad. Because me and my ex-fiance were together for a lot longer, and we also started dating, me and my ex-fiance, right after this girl, the one I started making music after. So that was kind of that. But you know what? Like my whole life, like I've always had an ear for music. I've always had a passion for it. I could just never really tell I'd be good at it, if that makes sense. Like part of me, like, I knew I was a good singer, but in like my head, I could never imagine me doing it. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, in my mind, I could never imagine me putting myself out there and being a musician and, like, kind of just putting my own face out there. I couldn't imagine. And I was 16 at the time. I was 15 at the time when I started making music. I was either 16 or 15. I was young, and I was putting myself out there at such a young age. So that was another scary reason too, because I was so young, and I was putting myself out there at such a young age. Whereas, like, now I'm 21, so I can, like, view the lens a little differently, if you know what I mean. Whereas, like, I have a better idea of how to handle fame, whereas, like, a 15-year-old boy wouldn't. And I was getting popular at 15 too. Not quite as popular as I am now. A lot of people know me for all my different projects and stuff. But mainly for Lil Bennington, people know me for. It's mainly Lil Bennington and Lil Lincoln people know me for. Nobody really knows like the other side projects I was in. I was in a band before before Lil Bennington. I was in a band with one of my best friends. It was actually me and Sad Boy 9 we were actually in the band together. He was my bass player. I was the lead singer. We had a guitarist named Rob. And then we had a drummer, but we sadly broke up after like a couple of months or whatever. We just didn't gel. That's the problem. You need to be able to gel in order to form a band. That's one of the reasons why I like singing solo, is because I can just do my own thing, my own work. I don't have to listen to anybody's input. Whereas when we're in the band together, we always had to like come up with ideas. We always had to do it in the studio. You know, we always had to do this and that. We had to argue about what we were gonna do, and you know all this stuff and everything. We always we weren't a band. It didn't feel like a band. It felt like just something that was like falling apart. Like, and there was a piece of it that I can't mention on this live stream that's really bad. That made us definitely break up. All you need to know is it was extremely bad, and I'm not gonna get into it, but that was the reason why we broke up as a band. That was like the final tipping point, if you know what I mean. But that's why I've been solo for a little bit. I haven't really tried to. I mean, I could very easily get into another band if I tried, but I haven't tried because I prefer to stay solo right now at the moment. Just because it's easier for me to be able to use my own creativity and talk about stuff that I like to talk about rather than what a whole band likes to talk about. And also the main reason why me and my band didn't gel was because you know how I am. I talk about like, you know, my relationships and how they failed, and you know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's uplifting, sometimes it's good, you know. We talk about it in my lives and everything. Or we talk about it in my music. The guitarist that I talked too dark in my music, which he didn't like, which was a part of me to be able to get those feelings out. So that's why I talk kind of dark sometimes, if you know what I mean. And some of it can be uplifting. But that's kind of why. It's because I like to get the feelings out that I'm feeling in my body, you know? That's why I make the music I make. That's why it's sort of a little bit more darker than I would like it to be. I know people are always like, oh, you should make happier music, but that's, you know. That's a good question. Now, you're going to find this crazy. So I'm not as big as I am into football as I am into basketball. I don't really know a lot of like the football stuff. I mean, I'm a fan, but like I don't really. I live in New England, so I'm more of like a Pats, you know, fan and everything. But I'm not saying I don't like football. I love football. I also grew up watching that too. It's a good question. I'm not too sure. Thank you for asking though. What is it? But yeah, that's why I talk the way I talk in my music. I know what I say. I know sometimes it can get, you know, sad and stuff. Sorry, my nose is like really itchy. I'm not picking it, it's just like really itchy. But I know the words I say in my music, and I know sometimes it can, you know, be sad and stuff, knowing that, you know, you look up to me and I go through it. But also, the main reason why I make it is because some of you guys, along with me, maybe going through it, like breakups and stuff, and hearing somebody else go through it helps. Especially somebody you look up to or admire. You know, that also helps knowing that you're not alone. But if that makes sense. So, what's it called? But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that. Like, I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, my whole life, I've always felt a little off. I've never really been comfortable with me. I have always known that something wasn't just right with me in my head. And I've always known that, like, sometimes things just don't go the way it's planned. And I feel like that happens all the time. Ever since me and my ex-fiance split up, I've kind of just viewed the world differently, if you know what I mean. Like, how girls view me, how, like, everybody views me. I'm always like, do I deserve this? I'm popular. Like, do I deserve to be single? It's really weird. You know what I mean? Because most musicians, I look at them and they got beautiful girlfriends, beautiful wives. Why can't I be like that? That's what I look at. And my ex-fiance was beautiful, beautiful lady. And yet she couldn't stay with me. And she was only there for half of it. Half of my career. Not even half. She was only there up until always Ashes into Sunrise. So she didn't know how popular I was getting. She never knew. We ended things right before New Face came out. I can guarantee you if she were to stay with me now, if she was going to stay with me, she would have probably gotten a lot of attention too, because New Faith was definitely a game changer and everything for the whole world and stuff, and for people in the independent scene. New Faith was just something different. And then I follow up My Pleasure, and then Moments Divided and everything. All of it was just game changers. And I've gotten so popular after all that, and I feel like if we were to not split up, one, we would have been really happy, and two, we both would have viewed the world differently. We both would have, we both would have been out there. We both would have been able, how like the idols and everything that you grow up with, their wives are always in the videos, their wives are always like in the public eye and everything. I'm sure that would have been us, hopefully. You never know. But I know I afterwards split up, I've kind of had like a mental kind of off thing where like half of my brain just doesn't believe in the world anymore. Just doesn't know what's real and stuff, like I was with her 3 years prior. We went to prom together. We graduated together. We got engaged about a year later, 2 years later. And then all of a sudden it ended. And it was so difficult. So difficult. And it broke my heart to be able to just end things with her. Knowing that, like I've said in my past lives, I could have held on if I really wanted to, but I really couldn't have. Because of all the stuff she was doing. Like, I would be out on a mini tour, and she would just, watch TV all day, not even call me once, or when I called her, she'd be out with friends or doing her own thing. Like, I didn't want that. But, like, part of me really, like, was like, oh, you know what, like, we really could have, if I just talked to her about it. Communication's everything in a relationship. If I sat down and was like, okay, we need to go to therapy, or, you need to just do this and that, or we can't be together. Like, if this is going to be a one-sided thing after we're engaged, then, you gotta be two-sided, But then, like I said, though, just recently, she lied to me, actually. She texted me, it's like right after Friday Night came out. A bunch of my exes had reached out to me right after Friday Night came out, trying to come back to me. And after Moments Divided came out, trying to come back with me because of the sudden big fame that I've had recently. And I properly declined all of them because I knew what it was getting me into. And that they weren't looking for me as love. They were looking for me as the title, I want Lil Bennington as my boyfriend. Because of these two things, you know? It was never like, oh, I love him for, I'm so proud of him for, making these songs or whatever. I want the best for him and I want him back. It wasn't like that. It was like, hey, I heard your song at the Celtics, I'm really happy, but like, can we get back together? Like, I heard it at the Celtics, I just broke up with my my other ex fiance that I had after you, and I'd like to give you another shot. I was gonna say yes, but then I slowly realized after she kept on texting me about how like she was like sending me photos and videos of the song in there, and she was like, I can't believe your song is in there, like I really want you back, I want you back, I want you back, I really want you, like I don't care what I gotta do, I want you back. That right there just made it seem like she was only using me for the fame, not for, who I was as a person. And not one time in the text did she ever say she regretted breaking up with me. She was just like, oh, I heard your song on the Celtics. I want you back. Like, I just broke up with my other fiance to have you back. That's a sign, you don't want that. And then my other ex-girlfriend, as I mentioned in a live stream a while back, when Fred and Nate, came out and everything. The ex I was dating prior to my ex-fiance, like right after, she threatened to get it down. She was trying to hire people to take down the song and get legal action involved because of how popular it was getting. So I shut that down. I tried to like fight that, and I fought it. So that didn't get taken down, even though she was trying her hardest to get it taken down. But like, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me recently, and I just never really fell for it because I just want somebody who really cares enough about me as a person instead of using my music as something they can care about and flex on to other people. I don't want that. Who wants that, I mean, it's cool to be like, oh, my boyfriend's a musician, it's really cool. But I love him for who he is. That's what you want. Yeah, you feel me? But yeah, I mean, that's kind of that in this live stream. We didn't really get a lot of people joining. We haven't really been getting a lot of people joining really at all recently. No one commented really either, except for that one guy, but I don't know. But we'll end it here, I guess. Thank you guys for joining. Much appreciated. We'll see you guys in the next live stream. What we doing? Peace out. Rock on.